All right, now there is some breaking news that's coming out of Western Australia this evening. In the past couple of minutes, the euthanasia system has been passed by not just the upper but now the lower house. It is now law in Western Australia. It was a marathon debate. It had gone for many weeks. There were big attempts to try and slow this in the upper house in particular, but it is now the law of the land in 2 states about your right to go gentle. The system is very similar to the one in Victoria. We'll wait and see how the whole thing is going to work, but let's get some instant reaction to the second state in the country to have voluntary euthanasia on the legal books. Cory Bernardi is, of course, well, not even now, so I have to say former senator, but we're pleased to say Sky News contributor. Welcome to the family, my friend.
Thank you very much, Paul. It's a pleasure. But I'm still shredding documents in my office, so I'm a senator for a little while yet until I get rid of them all.
Fair enough. All right, that's good. All right, and hopefully the magical pin means you still don't have to pay any tolls. Not that there are that many in South Australia. Rita Panahi is the star of stage, screen, radio, print, and she's very festive this evening. I love her very much. How are you, great lady?
Thank you very much, Paul. I'm well, and I'm looking forward to seeing you Saturday for our big Christmas get-together.
Looking forward to it. We can fly in a night early if you want to come to the Paul Murray Live Drinks, where it'll be an 80s style. Well, you can't RSVP on the telly. We'll talk about it off. But a man who has been not with our program for a little while because he's had a little break, been writing books and all the rest of it. And have a look at this for the full writer's beard of Troy Bramston, ladies and gentlemen, from the Australian newspaper, historian par excellence. Congratulations. Welcome to Beard Timber, my friend. Every month is Beard Timber.
I've been doing this show, I think, probably as long as anyone else, and you've set the standard for many, many years now. So I had 5 weeks off from journalism, and I thought, look, I've got to try to match it with you, but I've still got a way to go, I think.
No, it's a good beard, mate. By the end of summer, that is going to be luscious, absolutely luscious, and good to see you don't have the liquid paper stains that I've got.
No, I've got a little bit there, which my kids find hilarious. A bit of grey, and they're always spotting different grey hairs and things, reminding me how old I am, but...
alas, it happens.
It's good to be back.
Cory, what do you think about Western Australia? Second state in the country. Queensland is the next one on the list to have the debate and have a vote about voluntary euthanasia. It's now the law in 2 states. I know I'm getting on the hop here, but what do you think?
Well, Paul, I don't support it. I just don't think that safeguards are ever going to be there, but there seems to be this rapid march through. Victoria will start at Western Australia. It will keep getting pushed. And even in my home state of South Australia, I know the Liberal Party, there's a lot of sympathisers to it. And it wouldn't surprise me if the government tries to embrace it here. But I don't think it's a step forward for dignity of humankind in this country.
What do you think, Rita? Again, second state here. We know that in the Victorian system it's working the way that it is. We don't get a lot of information about how it's going, but it's off to Queensland now, and the push from those that were able to successfully get it done in Victoria and Western Australia, they want to vote on it next year, and there is some political shenanigans in Queensland where the Palaszczuk government think they can bring this on, have it as a multi-month debate to try and flush out some of the more socially conservative members of the LNP and then run off to that election.
Yes, I don't like this being used as a political football because it is a deeply personal issue, and certainly in Victoria, some of the loudest opponents of the legislation were from the Labor Party, and so it was in the end a conscience vote. This is an issue, Paul, I have done a 180 on, and there's not that many, particularly in the last decade, that I've done a 180, but the more I learnt about euthanasia being in place in places like Belgium and Luxembourg, the more I've become disturbed by its excesses and how it can be misused, and we just cross the line, Paul, when we have the state sanction killing someone. There's a line that's crossed, and I think no matter what safeguards you put in place initially, you're going to have instances where people who perhaps would make another choice but feel like a burden, who may be pressured by greedy kids waiting for inheritance. I mean, these scenarios shouldn't happen in an ideal society, but we don't live in an ideal society, and these things do happen and bad people do operate, and it just causes me some concern, because certainly in places like Belgium, you can now be put to death for illnesses that are not life-threatening, that are, you can even be put to death for emotional suffering. It's state-sanctioned suicide, and I just find that very ugly.
Troy, what's fascinating is that in Victoria, one of the reasons that I think that this debate didn't get the noise and national attention was because it was happening at the same time as the same-sex marriage stuff, and that seemed to be where a lot of people's focus was. Once things seemed to feel like they were steaming through the upper house, the debate fell away. Are you surprised that second state in a row, that there's not a lot of noise around these debates outside of the local media markets that are dealing with these things?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of prominent people in the community who are advocates for it, and people feel that if they speak up against it, they may be criticised or targeted in some way. So it's very difficult for people these days across the board. You know, we all love to debate issues here and try to do so in a respectful way, but in workplaces, in families, among friendship groups, these are controversial and contentious issues, and a lot of people don't like to state their views if they think they're unpopular. Now, I've always had huge reservations about euthanasia laws, and I've never been able to get to a point where I support them for similar reasons that Rita and Cory have outlined. There's just so many things in the system that could go wrong, abuses that could take place, mistakes that could be made, people having regrets. And so I've just never been able to satisfy myself that there are the right procedures in place to make sure that someone is making the right decision, and then everybody who's involved with them, their family and their friends, are able to be supportive of that.
All right, it wasn't our plan to talk about that this evening. I know you've got pretty strong views about that at home, but it is the news that is happening and breaking as we speak, that it is now law of the land in 2 states in Australia. Get ready for Queensland to have the debate, the fight, the conversation next.